Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and we're going to get back on with the a bit of work on the laptop. But first, apologies for a bit of a delay in the videos. I was actually last week. I decided I'd concentrate on actually getting the scimitar sorted out, and I managed to take it on Thursday and actually passed its MOT. So I've actually got my Reliant scimitar back on the road. It's taxed, MOT'd and insured. The only thing is, when you've got a car like that and it hasn't been on the road for you know, quite a few years, they do have a tendency to let you know about it. So it was fine on Friday. On Saturday the starter motor packed up, so I spent all of Saturday evening and most of this morning rebuilding the starter motor on it, and got all that working, put all that back together, got it running again. As soon as I got it running again, the ignition module failed on it. So fortunately I had a spare one in stock, so I stuck that on it, and that's got it back up and running again. So that is up and running. So I thought, right, anyway, I won't talk any more about that. I might actually do a video on the scimitar now. Like I said, it is on the road. I can actually take it somewhere. I can actually show it off a little bit more. Anyway, well, let's get back on with the what make is this laptop now? I keep thinking laser now because someone said Vtech, isn't it? It's Vtech. But apparently this exact laptop was sold in the US under the laser brand. Anyway, I think where we left off, we were still looking at not being able to get a floppy drive working, and we're still unfortunately in that situation. Basically what I've done, I am completely, like I said, I haven't completely abandoned this while I was messing with the car, but basically what I've done is, that's the original floppy drive from it, and I am pretty certain this has got like logic fault or driver IC or something like that's gone on it. I can't find, basically what's happening is there's no activity on the drive at all. The disc motor won't spin, the stepper motor that actuates the head, that will do nothing. If you scope it, if you scope the pins coming out of here, like on like the read-write lines or anything like that, you've got activity there. You know, when you write into a disc or anything, you can actually put your scope on there and see activity. So I'm pretty certain the disc controller on the actual laptop's working. It's just this. I've checked all the obvious things. There's no blown fuses in it. It's only got 2 electrolytic capacitors. Those are both fine. I can't find any, you know, tantalums or anything like that on the board, which is short. So I've actually been through all the capacitors I could on the board. Can't find anything wrong. So I'm pretty certain it's probably one of the logic ICs, or like the drive that actually drives the motors or something like that, that's possibly failed in it. Which means we're essentially looking for a different a replacement drive. Now this is where the problem is. I thought that all these 26-pin floppy drives were pretty much the same. It was just like another standard. Not so. It seems that different manufacturers, even though they all seem to use this 26-pin ribbon, little edge connector there, they don't seem to use the same wiring. Where I found this out was I was looking on pinouts.ru, it's a Russian site which has lots of pinouts for various different things, and they actually have a pinout for the 26-pin floppy connector, but it says in bold underneath that it's not the same as on the Citizen drives used in Toshibas. I mean, I've got one of them here, actually. I've literally been going through all my really old laptops to see if I could find anything I could try that drive out on, to see whether it was the drive or the controller which was really at fault. Toshiba T2000 there. I don't think I've ever done a video on this. It's not in very well condition, but one day we might get that fully working. That one, again, unfortunately, this actually has a faulty floppy drive in it. And this is one of the major problems. This one doesn't actually suffer from it. This actually has a proper motor, what do you call them now? I'm forgetting forgetting the names for things, but basically it's got a flat motor in the bottom there. Most of these early floppy drives used on laptops don't actually do that. They actually have a belt drive in them. I believe this one's got a belt drive in it. And the Toshiba one here, that definitely has a belt drive in it, because that's what's wrong with this. The belt's actually failed in it. But the drive in here is not actually compatible with that, so we couldn't even if that drive was working, we couldn't use it in that computer, and vice versa. We can't test that drive using that Toshiba. Now, the other one I've got here, again, this is not fully working, but it does work to a reasonable extent. We've got a compact LTE 286. This also uses the same 26-pin ribbon-style connector for the floppy drive. Now, I'm not sure whether this uses exactly the same interface as, the same pin out as that. I think it does, but unfortunately that drive doesn't work either. Because I could try that drive in this computer, and although it did do a little bit more than this drive did, as in it actually did spin the disk and you actually did get drive light, activity light coming on, it wouldn't actually read the disk or do anything. That drive, basically, when I tried it in this laptop, was pretty much dead. It just did exactly the same as it does in this drive here, which is in you can just about hear the motor basically vibrating as though it's not actually starting up, and you just hear that as soon as you put a disc in. So it recognises it's got a disc in. It's obviously attempting to spin that disc up, but it can't do. There's just no force behind it, or it's not driving it properly anyway. So that's basically where we're at with the floppy drives at the moment. Now, someone did say, why don't I put a Vtech in here? And I did I was sort of thinking along those lines. The trouble is, I had looked up like a 26-pin Vtech, and the cheapest ones I could see are over £50, £50 plus postage plus a little bit mark. And as like I say, I've discovered, I don't think there's just one standard, so it's not necessarily going to work straight out of the box, even if I do buy one of those. Plus, they're standard form factor. They're designed for some fancy sewing machines and some lathes and things like that used like a laptop style 26-pin connector, but it's still a full 3.5. It's full size 3.5-inch floppy drive. I've come across them in some of the Canon word processors and stuff like that. They tend to use them, and I think you could possibly use these Vtechs for something like that. Like I say, I don't have that kind of money to throw at these kind of little projects. What I did possibly consider is whether I could just use a standard Vtech or a clone Vtech, one of the cheapest ones you can get. Basically just use the board, because obviously the whole thing wouldn't fit in here. That wouldn't matter. We can shrink it down to fit in there, and using various bits and bobs, make an adapter up to go between the 34 pin down to the 26 pin, and go from obviously ribbon cable down to an edge connector. It would possibly be doable. That is something I might think about. Like I said, that is a possibility. We could go that route. What someone else actually said is, why don't I, instead of using a compact flash card like that, why don't I use a ID to SD adapter, which I actually have got a couple of those, with one of the SD cards with built-in Wi-Fi, and then I could just literally Wi-Fi data straight to the laptop. That's actually a really cool idea, and I might actually have a think about doing something like that. That would be a really interesting way to go with this. What I'm going to do for the moment, basically, is now I've not got a long enough cable to do this. That's the longest 2.5 inch IDE cable that I've got, and it's not going to be long enough for this, so I've just ordered one. I think it's about, it was either 8 inch or 10 inch 2.5 to 2.5 inch IDE cable. Basically what I'm going to do for the time being is I'm going to do away with the drive. I'm going to make a little plate that fits in here, which is going to take that compact flash adapter and just mount it up at the front here, and I'll make a little plate out of plastic with a hole in it for the compact flash to stick through. And is there anything easier than that? If we want to put data off or onto the laptop, I just pull the hard drive out of the front, take it upstairs, plug it into my bridge PC, and I can just transfer whatever data I want to offer onto that card. It also means I can have multiple cards. You know, if I wanted to play with like very old Linux or something like that, I could actually have a card set up for that and just bump straight into the front of the laptop, swap it over for one with MS-DOS on, you know, whatever. It gives me a lot of options. That. Anyway, what I thought we'd do in this video, like I said, because we're not going to get any further with the floppy drives at the moment, and I think this is the way I'm going to go for the time being. But what we really need to do is see if we can fix this case, because the case it's cracked here. There's some bad cracks actually on the lid where the lid fixes on. So what I'll do, I'll get the camera set back up. I'll tidy my desk up a bit because my desk is in a bit of a state at the moment, and we'll have a look at fixing some of the plastic, make it a bit more stable, and once we've done that, unfortunately, because that cable hasn't arrived yet, it's coming from China, so it might be a week or 10 days or something before that comes. But I wanted to get something out, and I want to get this off my bench because I really need to finish that Nixie clock off for the chap. The new Nixie tubes arrived, so I need to get that done. So I need my bench clear so I can finish that project off for him, and he can have his stuff back. So we'll just have that in here for now, and so I can just play about with the laptop. But we'll get it built back up, we'll repair all this plastic, and we can actually see if that VGA screen that's actually on the laptop's going to work to a reasonable extent or not, because I'm still not 100% sure whether that's fully working or not. Anyway, I'll set the camera back up and we'll get straight back to it. Right, okay, fortunately this is really the only damage on the bottom section of the laptop. Most of the damage is actually on the top section. That's quite severe. But what we've got on this piece here, if I just open it up, can we see we've got a crack there that runs, and it's quite a bad crack. It actually runs right down the bottom of the case there, all the way through. So what I thought we'd do, now repairing plastic like this is notoriously difficult, so this is what I'm proposing to do. I don't know if this is the right way or what, but I think it should work. I cut just a piece of scrap plastic out of something, and what I'm going to do is we're going to run some super glue into the crack, and then I'm going to glue, this will just need trimming down a bit, like basically a reinforcement onto the inside of it there, and hopefully that should stop it going again. That should just give it that little bit of rigidity. And I think there should be plenty of room that even if we do manage to get a replacement working floppy drive for it eventually, it will still fit and it doesn't interfere. It's not going to interfere with the floppy drive. So we'll probably end up with something different to that, to be totally honest, but if we can, we should be able to actually go that far. So what I think we'll do, I've got some masking tape here. If we go on to the outside, in fact you can possibly see the crack a little bit better from the outside like that. If we hold the crack together and basically tape it like that. I'll put a bit of tape on the bottom where it cracks through that hole there. The only reason we're doing this is because we want to wick some of the super glue through that crack, and if we just slightly spread the crack to allow the super glue, that will prevent it like pooling up on the outside and causing a bit of a mess on the outside, or at least that's the idea anyway. Right, I've got some super glue here somewhere. Oh, it's there. Got some super glue here. It says bonds, nail, rubber, metal, glass, plastic, ceramics and wood. So we'll get into this. There we go. Pretty much, they don't give you very much for your £1.20. Let's see if they give you an applicator. Oh yeah, you actually get a little applicator with this. That's quite good. That makes putting this stuff on actually a lot easier. And what we'll do, we'll get a little bit of the super glue on here, and we'll just basically open the crack up a little bit. If we can get the there we go, that's better. We're just trying to get some of the super glue to actually flow inside that crack. There we go, that's better. And same on the ground here where it went through. Let's just shut that up. That's looking fairly flat, that. Right. Well, that's going off a little bit. Let me take this piece of plastic. I'm just going to trim it down a little bit. I think it's a little bit. There we go. Let's try that. I think that'll probably work. And what we'll do, paint super glue on that surface. Add some to that surface like that. Put the super glue away. That should, there we are, and we'll just hold that together for a second. In fact, what I'll do, I'll just pause the video and I'll just find a clip to go on there just to hold that so it can go off. So back in a sec. Right, okay, I've got that pegged, so that should go off like that. We'll slide that to the back of the table. Ooh. Let's get the lid out. Now this is where the real problem's going to be. Get that round. Basically, both hinges on this are broken. This one really quite severely. It's all cracked up. Can just about push that straight, but like I say, it's not in good condition. That this one's a little better, but it's still, like I say, it really is quite badly broken. That I might actually be better off doing a little bit of further disassembly here and taking the top of the keyboard actually off the top of the screen. But let's do that. This should just come out now. Or do we have to take those screws out first? I'll take these out. And then you can really see the extent of the damage to the plastic on this. And this is what, I mean, I'd say this is what makes me think it's been dropped, but this has been a weak spot on laptops for a very, very long time. I've had a few laptops that have, this is why they've died, basically. And Compaq used to have a particular problem with weak hinges. I had a few Compaqs in the the early 2000s that the screen literally broke off. Right, let's see if they all separate now. Is that going to allow that to come out? Okay, that comes out from there. Oops, that comes out from there. Ah. Now I just thought they'd just pop straight out, but they don't. There's obviously something else involved there. Ah, there we go. That's one hinge out. They come out. That's strange. They come out from the side. You can lift the hinge up and out like that. Okay, so they're free now. We can feed that wire through. This is the piece we want to work on. The top's actually fine. There we go. Feed those wires through. Some damage on the cabling there we can probably address as well. Get these through without breaking anything. There we go. Right, so now that we don't need to worry about because there's nothing wrong with that at all. There's no cracks or damage to any of the plastics on that. That's, in fact, where's that end bit that can go back on? I didn't need to take it off. Right, I can put that out of harm's way. And this is what we need to have a look at. This is what's got the real damage to it. So basically all this plastic here, if you look, is all broken free. Same on that side, and that's basically where them hinges bear down on. Like I said, I don't know whether that's happened because that's, well, I mean, you can see there, that's really is quite bad. I don't know whether that's happened because of just the flexing of the hinge like that, or it's happened because the whole laptop's been dropped at some point. But the fact that we've got a big crack down at the bottom there, and then really it's all the cracks. I'm not sure, has it been dropped or is it just, you know, literally through age, through the fact that these were really cheaply made laptops. I think what I'm going to have to do, this is going to be tricky to actually get any glue down into, but I think if we hold it that way, hold it open, we can get some glue in there and then put some tape basically to hold that while the glue goes off. Then we might even want to mix some, I think we've got enough room possibly to mix some 2-part epoxy up and just possibly reinforce it on the inside with a little bit of 2-part epoxy. But first thing to do is we'll get some super glue. We'll open the crack up as far as we can and we'll get some glue actually down right into the crack. Oops, I don't want that to touch just yet because there's all this that I need to. It's a case of holding it open while you get every bit that needs to have some glue on it, with glue on it. And the problem is you'll never ever get this as strong as the original really. You can get it close. We'll always just have to be super careful with this. Now we'll hold that together. I'll quickly with my finger wipe that excess off. Let's get some tape. Hold that like that. The nice thing with masking tape is it's got a tiny little bit of stretch to it, so it will help hold. That's not too bad. Again, we'll get a bit of tape over that just to hold it while it goes off. There we go. So that's that side done. And let's have a look at see what we can do with the same on this side. I'd say this is, it's not quite as bad on this side, but it's still, you know, quite a bad crack. In fact, this splits in 2 different ways. It's got a crack coming across the top there, and another crack going down there, and there's an additional crack at the edge there. So this is the. I thought that was the worst side, but at least that was just one big long crack, as where this is a number of cracks coming off it. I'm going to basically do the same thing. We'll open the cracks up a bit. We'll get some of this super glue to wick into the cracks, and hopefully that will do the job. More super glue on. Oops, sugar. Oops. That's not what I wanted to. Oops, and there's a laptop going down the pan. And that's the last thing you want to do, because you want to work fairly quick as well, because you don't want that to be set in before you've got this bit done. Right, okay. That was a bit of a bugger. We'll hold that like that. We'll get some tape on there. Like that. And we did manage to get some glue to go through that crack there, but what we'll do is we'll stick that, and then we'll try and run a bit more glue through from the back. Put that down again. tape that like that. I think we've actually not done too badly there, but we'll just okay. Right, what we'll do, I mean this stuff's fairly fast setting. Let's have a quick look on the instructions. I think it's about 15 minutes. In fact, what have I done with, oh there it is. Ooh. Let's have a quick look here. That should tell me how long it takes to it didn't actually tell you how long the full bond should take, so let's give it a good 10 minutes and then we can take this tape off and we'll just have a look at perhaps reinforcing some of those corner pieces with a little bit of a two-part epoxy. So back in a sec. Right, well that's been a good 10 minutes, so we'll take this tape off. That don't look too bad. There's a little bit come through there, but it's certainly better than big splits anyway. Yes. I don't want to put too much tension on it yet, but that seems to have, it's certainly stuck, it's set. What we're going to do though, I think we're going to see if we can just perhaps reinforce it a little bit. Basically we'll add some, we can't really add some down into there because that's where the hinge is going to sit and we don't want to obstruct the hinge. But what we can do is we can reinforce it along there, we can reinforce it there and the same on that side. So I've got a little bit of just epoxy here. It's just cheap rapid set two-part epoxy. And we'll get one of my favourite things to apply it with, which is a used Q-tip. Chop the used bit off, and these are absolutely perfect for mixing epoxies. So we'll put we're not going to need very much for this. A little pea of that. And we have same size pea of that one. There we go. Mix them together. I'm sure you've all used two-part epoxy before. This is just the one that my local you know, cheap store, DIY store sells, and it's quite a nice one. It's quite a good epoxy actually. I think it's like £1.50 for 4 tubes. You get 2 tubes of hardener and 2 tubes of epoxy for, I think it's £1.50. I'm actually picking a bit of colour up from what I'm mixing it on there, but never mind. We'll apply a little bit into that corner there. And we'll apply some along there. You don't have to be super neat because no one's ever going to see this. It's just adding a little bit of, like I said, a little bit of reinforcement where it's going to be needed, where the hinges bear down on the plastic, and so that's where it's failed in the past. That one's not as bad. Don't really think I can do any more. See, that had split further along on that side there. That's why I've had to put some more epoxy in. This one, really, it's going to have to rely. In fact, we could possibly get a bit of epoxy down there, the start where the very start of the break is, which is right down in there like that because there's not a hinge there. I could do possible just mixing another little bit up and just adding a little bit more in that corner there. 'Cause like I said, that's exactly where the very start of the very start of the break was. Oops. Come on, out you come. There we go. So if we reinforce that, at least it's not going to carry on cracking anymore along there. Not that it should do actually with the super glue that we've added, but it certainly can't help. It can't do any harm just to add a little bit more. So we'll go in there and we will add basically where the start of the break that caused all the cracking was. Okay, that should do it. Right, so it's just a case now basically of letting that dry off, and then I'll show it you in a bit more detail, but we'll let that dry off and then we can start actually putting this thing back together and see whether it's going to work. So back in a sec. Right, okay, that should have had time to cure. I went and had my tea while I waited for that to do. Let's have a look here now. So that's, yeah, that's cured off nicely now. Right, and also quickly off camera, because I've forgotten to do it, I just glued that corner there. And take that off. Yeah, and that's fixed that. So we've got a good repair on that corner there. And hopefully we've got a good repair on the back there. Feels fairly solid anyway. So I suppose what we really need to do is put the screen back together. Get the other part of it. And get you zoomed out a little bit so you can see it. Oops, that's the wrong way. There we go. So that's going to sit on like that. So I need to feed these wires back through. In fact, I wonder if now would be a good time to extend that. So yeah, in fact I'm going to do that now. Because if you remember me saying before, originally that ground point there was actually just soldered on there, and I want to move it across and actually use one of the screws at the end there to hold it, so I need to just quickly extend that wire. So I'll just get you paused while I get the soldering iron warmed up and we can sort that out. Okay, we're all warmed up, and actually I've just found a piece that's just a scrap board out of an old TV set or something like that, and look what it's got. It's got just what we want on it there. So we'll get that desoldered off here. There we go. That's got a nice little solder lug on that side, but I don't want to leave all that copper there, that brass there, exposed. So, yep, take a little piece of heat shrink. We'll put that on there. You can heat shrink that over there just to make that a little bit better on that side. Put that other piece on there, and all we need to do is solder those 2 points together like that. Okay, tin that up. Tin that up. That should do. There we go. a decent join there. We'll put that piece of heat shrink over that and we'll get these shrunk down. There we are, that's that one done. Let's do that at the end of there. There we go, perfect. Switch that off, I don't think we'll need that again. The only reason I've done that is it means that if I ever need to take this screen off again from the actual main board, I don't have to mess about and have to desolder that wire. We can just unscrew a screw, take that ground off, and it makes it a lot easier. So that's that done. Right, let's get back to putting this base back together. Oops. There we go, that's better. My hot air didn't sit down properly on its stand then, so it was sat there heating up the bottom of my speakers rather than cooling down. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to get that wire through there, and that connector through there. Need to get that wire through there, which is the inverter for the backlight. Okay, so those are going in alright. Pull them through. Oops. Try not to destroy it while we're doing this. That's one free. And the other one's... Ah, there we go, that's in. And nearly there, I think. There we are, that's it. A bit of broken plastic there, but I think we can live with that. Right, so we've got the wire in through. You see what I'm doing? Yes, you can. So the next thing to do is we need to get these hinges back in place. I think they just kind of literally drop in like this. There we go, that's that one. So where's the screws for those? Going to need a bit of fiddling with to actually get to line up where it needs to line up. It's not quite gone in yet, though. I wonder if we have to sort of hinge it. There we go. Right, now if I move that around while I fiddle with that hinge, we should be able to get it to lock into the correct position. There we go. So I needed it open like that to be able to get that hinge to actually lock into its position. So that's it. Let's try doing the other one while we've got it actually sat up like this. So I slide the hinge in. And then kind of slide it to that side. It should, if it was like the other one, just lock it, click into position. Ah, there we go, that clicked in. felt that go in. Right, now we've got that. Oh, then that one's dropped out. Lovely. Now we've got this one in, we might as well screw it into position, or else it's going to come back out again, isn't it? Oops. I just hope this repair is going to be strong enough to actually work. There we go, that's one screw in. That's two in. Let's spin it back over and we'll see if we can get that bottom one back in. Because we did have that in before, but it fell out. Okay. I think it's the same thing again, as you get it in position and then we've got to just basically move the hinge on the laptop backwards and forwards until we get it to actually sit into its groove. Right, its groove's straight ahead. So that should, in theory, if I've got all this lined up, drop straight in like that and go right in where it needs to go. Some pliers on the that's it, drop straight in. Well, not straight in, but you know what I mean. It's gone in. Get that screw in there. That screw in there. That doesn't look. We've got a little bit of movement there, but it's not all cracking here where it was. That's not too bad. That's a lot better than it was. It's tons better than it was, to be fair. So that's that part of the and it holds up nicely as well. It's not one of these floppy screens which is dropping down all the time. So that's that done. I think that's about right to go back together, and like I said, we've also got our extension there that we've added. So let's take a look at the bottom where we did the repair here. We'll put that little bit of reinforcement on. Let's remove the masking tape. And that's done a fairly good job of stopping the excess glue coming through. I mean, it's visible, but it's also strong. It's not, you know, you can't flex it, you can't crack it anymore. I think we'll call that a success. Right. Now, what we need to do now is I need to put things like that back on, connect the VGA back up and what have you. So I won't bother me filming doing all that because it's just assembly. It's nothing, nothing really to it. I'm basically just going to put the thing back together, and then we will have a test and actually see whether the screen on it works, because we've not actually yet fully seen anything display on the screen. So I'll get these few bits put back in it and we'll get to that. So back in a sec. Oh, alright, come on then, let's bring you along for the ride. This is going to be fun to put back together. Basically, I've got the inverter board taken back off here. Now what we need to do is we need to get this VGA connector on the board. Now the problem we've got is that most of these cables are only just long enough as they need to be. So that's connected. I'll have to nudge this thing back so that can rest against there. So we've got our VGA on there. We've got our ground wire which we can connect over there, that's no problem. We need to connect that connection there to this wire here, which is our, because this is the thing, this DC to DC converter board, which you saw me do the recap on in an earlier video. It doesn't just supply the low voltages for the actual computer, you know, the 5 volts. It also supplies the probably a couple of thousand volts to drive the backlight tube, and that's what basically that part of the circuit there is. So we have to make sure we connect that up as well. I have changed all the capacitors, but we haven't really tested that part of the circuit, so hopefully that is going to work. So we'll connect the connect that up to the backlight. We've got to make sure this goes back on with all the pins in the right place, which I think that's right there, otherwise those wouldn't line up. We'll put that isolator on there, and we need to screw that down. I just realised I've left off 2 little plastic clips there that I need to fit, and I should have really fit them before I got this far, so just hold on a sec. I'll quickly fit them clips off camera, and then we'll get back to doing what we're doing. Right, okay, now I've got those 2 little plastic pieces there put back in. Let's finish putting the inverter board back down. There we go, so that's all that really basically reconnected. What we can do now, let's connect this ground point that I've created for the monitor, and we can basically, there's a screw in this corner we can take out. We'll add a screw to that there, and there's nothing that you can short on really around it. We can put it back. Like I said, that means that if I need to take this thing apart again, I'm not having to desolder that wire, I can just unscrew it. There we go, that's down. I mean, I know it's a little bit long, but to be totally fair, I mean, this thing's going to have a solid state hard drive in it anyway. It's not really going to cause a major issue. That I think I'm actually going to probably put the floppy drive. I know it's not going to be of any use, but just basically as a place marker for now, I think we'll put the original floppy drive back in. And then when we revisit this computer, like I said, we'll probably be doing either changing that for some kind of USB solution, or most likely, because I've got the cable on its way, making it so that that fits there, and we can just swap out the compact flash cards. Which, like I said, that would actually make this a fairly useful computer. What I was thinking. Now, does that go on? I can't remember where that goes on now. Oh, it goes down, doesn't it? It's like a... That doesn't look right. I'll have to figure that piece out, unless that comes off a different... That could actually be off a different laptop that I was fiddling with. Let's have a look here. I'm not even going to bother connecting this up because there's no point. Let's say it's not actually in it's not in functioning state. But I will put its cable in there so we don't lose it. Put it underneath like that. And then when that's screwed down, that'll hold that cable in place actually. Right. In fact, I should have really put this down before I even started connecting any of that up. So this is going to be a pain. Just bear with me for a second. Okay, we've got the disk drive fixed down. I've just put 2 screws in it. We can put the other 2 in after. And that little bit does go there. I got the drive down and then I suddenly realised what that piece was for. It actually holds a screw hole in the top corner of the case there. So I had to take it back out again to redo it. But anyway, basically that's most of it back together. We've got our little SD card in there for our substitute hard drive. The disk drive is, like I say, it's in there for now, but that is just a placeholder, really. All we've got to do now, I hope, is basically reconnect the internal keyboard, which is one of these pains like doing it on a Spectrum, where you have to kind of hold it at a funny angle like this while you plug the ribbon cables in. They are fortunately slightly more robust than you find on a Spectrum membrane, but you still have to be incredibly careful with them, because if you bugger these up, unlike a Spectrum, you aren't going to be able to get a replacement easily. So you're then repairing what you've got. Right, okay, let's shut this down. Hopefully this is going to go back together. Right, so far so good. Let's get some screws back into it. At least we can put those 2 disk drive screws back in, one there and one there. Right, now we've got some excuse me, it's just some self-tapping plastic screws for the back corners there. You can definitely tell these were a cheap laptop from the build quality compared with like something like my that Toshiba there, or indeed this this compact. These are battleshipping compared with that. But it's an interesting computer nonetheless. All these old computers, I find interesting anyway. Right. We've got 2 more screws to go in there, which is, I believe, these 2 here. So one in there and one in there. And then finally, that certainly opens a lot nicer now. That feels a lot more positive. It's not creaky and all moving as you open it. The final screw, as we said, and why I had to put that thing back on again, is right in there. I have to be a bit careful because that's where it was cracked, and we've had to glue it. And oops, wrong way again. Come on, out you go. There we are. We've got one Vtech 386 SX33 laptop back in one piece. So shall we see if it's going to boot up? I've got my my temporary power. We are going to come up with something better than just powering it like this, but this works for the moment. Oops. That's positive on there. That's negative on there. Okay, we can power our power supply up. Now I saw something on the screen there. something's not happy. Something's definitely not happy there. Whatever is not working is making the whole computer not power up, so this is basically exactly as it was when we first started with this computer. Alright, that's unfortunate. Just bear with me a second, folks. Let's see if we can get to the bottom of this. Okay, folks, unfortunately it looks like we've got more problems. Something else has failed. I've got the laptop stripped back down here again to as we had it working. I haven't even got the hard drive or anything connected, so it should just be able to give us a BIOS screen up on the monitor here. Unfortunately, when I switch on, now I can hear a little bit of a whine from the switch mode PSU, but apart from that, we're not getting a beep, we're not getting anything. So, and we're not getting any display on the screen at all. So it looks like we've got a bit of a setback. Something, and I can't understand what we've actually done, because all we've done basically in this video is have a look at repairing the case. This is why I pulled the screen and everything back off it, just in case there was like a short in the actual screen and that was causing a problem. So I'm going to leave it here for now. I know it's not the best video where you really wanted to see me leave this video, but at least we've got all the plastic work done. I'm quite pleased with how the repair to that back hinge on the actual case has gone, because that was always a bit dodgy opening, and that's now absolutely fine. Like I said, we can open that without actually worrying. It's just a bit of a pain that prior to me doing that, the computer was actually, it was booting from that SD card, and we could actually run it. And I can't see what there's something that I've actually done that's could have caused that. So I'm guessing we've had another failure on the switch mode power supply or something like that. But this video is already long enough. In the next video, like I said, I really need to finish that chap's Nixie clock off so I can get that and his other bits sent back to him. So we'll be finishing that off in the next video. But don't worry, we will return to this. We'll try and get to the bottom of what's actually happened, why we've not got any power anymore, and we will take it from there. Anyway, like I say, I hope you enjoyed this little update on the project. I'm sure most people would have liked to see it actually back together and working, but we can't always, it doesn't always go the way we want it to go with these things. Anyway, like I say, I'm going to leave it there for now. Hope you enjoyed this little update on the project. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.